Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome into another edition as we get things started here. I hope all of you had a great weekend. Were able to get out of the house, do something fun. I know that over here we went to go see the new Alien movie, Aliens Covenant, and I'll be honest, half of us liked it. So, that's saying something. But at any rate, welcome into the Computer America Show. I am your host, Ben Crossman, and we have a great show lined up for you today because no guest. Cherry was supposed to be on the program, but they had to be moved to a later date. They are apparently coming out with some cool products here in the near future, and, they wanted to wait until a little bit later until then. So we'll have more information on Cherry, what they're doing, what they're up to, and, of course, we'll let you know when that happens. But in the meantime, we have plenty to go over, including computer and technology news, and some very interesting stories. But before we jump into that, I, of course, want to mention a few things, including ComputerAmerica.com. That is your home for anything and everything that we do here on the program. So if you are listening and you are busy, your hands are tied, whatever it is, well, don't worry about it. In the show notes for today's show, we have the audio, the video archive, as well as any links to any articles, videos, products, anything that we talk about here today will be included in the show notes after the show. Also, be sure to check out the live video stream because not only can you listen to Computer America, but you can watch Computer America as well. It's just another way to experience what we do here and hope that you check that out. And then the last thing is, of course, our social media contest. That is ongoing. It started up just over the weekend if you were paying attention. But if not, head on over to computeramerica.com. Right there on the social media contest, you can find out how to enter. There's like 7 different ways to enter. You get 12 different entries if you fill it all out completely. And yeah, the M720 Triathlon mouse from Logitech. It's a great mouse, multi-device, runs 2 years on a single AA battery. Not even 2 AA's, 1 AA battery gives you 2 years of continuous use. Very, very cool. And again, happy to give that way with our partner, thanks to Logitech. So with all of that said, and one more thing that just happened over the weekend, but I want to welcome on once again our newest sponsor, that is Fire Dragon Security. They they specialize in small medium business and just general intrusion detection systems for networks. It's one of the best ways to actively monitor your network security, and they do something that we have not seen from anyone else here on the show, and we are very happy to have them on as a sponsor. So we have a link over on our website. We actually interviewed them about 2 weeks ago. You can check that out over on our website, or we also made a Facebook post about it. So check them out. Again, firedragonsecurity.net, I believe, is their website. And yeah, give them a shout out. Thanks to Computer America. All right, so with all of that out of the way, we can now jump into computer and technology news. So why don't we just get started because, as I said, we have a lot to cover. So here we go. All right, so I think for our first story, and again, this is where the video portion is going to come in handy because not only can you listen to, as we go over the article, but you can follow along as we do it. But our first article is going to be about this one. And this is something that certain people in the office have been, belly aching about for quite a while. Although it's a fully justified bellyache when it happens. And now it is in their end user license agreement. or I should say their terms of service and privacy policy. Tomato, tomato. But this has to do with Ancestry.com. And if you haven't been watching TV lately, well, Ancestry has really, really, really been pushing this idea that to really fully know who you are as a person, then you need to get your DNA tested, sequenced, and reported so that you can find out. Well, your DNA tells you really a lot about you that even you don't know, including your exact breakdown, your exact, and that's the way Ancestry is really pushing it, is that, you get to find out. I always thought I was Italian, but then I had my DNA tested. Turns out I'm Swahili, or my family's from Swahili, and it's like, oh wow, you didn't pick that up before, but no, it's it's getting more popular. But at the same time, what are you really agreeing to when you send them a DNA swab? So this coming from Medium, and they have a great write-up. We're not going to go over this word for word because it's a rather long article. We have a link to it in the show notes if you like to go over it, but there are some key points to be made here. So again, Medium, and we have Mr. Joel Winston to thank for this. And yeah, the title of it, Ancestry.com takes DNA ownership rights from customers and their relatives. So, it starts off with a very, a very succinct warning. Don't use Ancestry DNA testing services without actually reading the Ancestry.com terms of service and privacy policy. That's a very, poignant point to make, but at the same time, who actually reads that long, legalese-filled document? And I can guarantee you, almost no one. Except for this gentleman. He did that, and he came away with 3 major points that you're actually giving up by agreeing to this. So, again, for those of you who don't know, Ancestry.com is selling DNA testing services called Ancestry DNA, but the DNA and genetic data that Ancestry.com collects may be used against, quote, you or a genetic relative. And according to its privacy policies, Ancestry.com takes ownership of your DNA forever. Forever. Your ownership of your DNA, on the other hand, is limited in years. So, it must seem obvious that customers agree to this arrangement, since all of them must click here to agree to these terms. But how many people really read these contracts, as I was saying earlier? So here we go, the 3 points that this gentleman was able to, to kind of pick out. And the first one, and this isn't really going to matter, I feel, to too many people because, I'll be honest, a lot of people are not the paragons of DNA that they think they are. But at the same time, point number 1 that you're agreeing to when using Ancestry DNA is perpetual, royalty-free, worldwide license to use your DNA. That's right. And already, the world's largest consumer DNA database, and this is the one that's owned by Ancestry.com, already contains the DNA of more than 3 million people. And that Ancestry DNA services promises to uncover your ethnic mix, discover distant relatives, and find new details about your unique family history with a simple DNA test. So, for the price of $100 and a small saliva sample, that's how they do it. They give you a swab, you swab your cheek, put it back in, send it off, and boom, they have your DNA. And yeah, they said that they get an analysis of their genetic ethnicity and a list of potential relatives identified by genetic matching. So, Ancestry.com, on the other hand, gets free ownership of your genetic information forever. So, that means that they will actually own your DNA even after you die. That's very true. So they're saying that by submitting DNA to Ancestry DNA, you agree to grant them perpetual, royalty-free, worldwide transferable license to use your DNA and any DNA you submit for any person from whom you obtained a legal authorization as described in this agreement. Blah 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 blah. And essentially, They're saying that they get to use or distribute your DNA for any research or commercial purposes it decides and doesn't have to pay you or your heirs a dime. So that means if you are, some unique individual, your DNA holds the cure for, the cure for cancer, the cure for AIDS, the cure for whatever it may be, and you have that unique mix of, genes in you, and it's derived from you, well, you don't get anything other than that warm feeling in your stomach that you just saved a bunch of people. You don't get anything for your contribution to the end result of anything that comes of your DNA. So they're saying that, obviously, they're saying that customers provide voluntary consent to have their DNA used in commercial research projects. Customers are free to withdraw consent with a few exceptions. First, data cannot be withdrawn from research already in progress or completed, or from published research and findings. That's right. So you can contact them and say, hey, I'd like to withhold my information from research purposes. But if they've already used it, too little, too late. Too bad. So yep, that's the first one. This may not really apply to too many people. You may be thinking, well, who cares? Who cares if they get to use my DNA? Well, the second point I think is probably the most important point. And this is something that a lot of people are, it's already happening. I know I've seen it happen already, and it's only going to be an ever-present tool to a lot of people out there. So here we have it. Number 2, warning that DNA information may be used against you or a genetic relative. And again, key term, used against you. So they said that they promised to analyze approximately 7,000 genetic markers. And according to Ancestry.com, they combined the advanced DNA science with the world's largest online family history resource to predict your genetic ethnicity and help you find new connections. So, the results of an Ancestry DNA analysis include information about ethnicity across 26 regions and ethnicities, and identifies potential relatives through DNA, through your DNA. So, they said that they claim to use the latest autosomal testing technology. Wow, not up on my science terms. I apologize, but they said that that they can produce genetic identity reports and can combine the test results with the world's largest online family history resource to predict your genetic ethnicity and help you find new family connections. All right. So this raises a thorny issue where your exact DNA profile is unique to you, but a substantial portion of your DNA is identical to your relatives. Thus, Ancestry.com is able to take DNA from its customers and also their relatives. And even if you've never used Ancestry.com, but one of your genetic relatives has, the company may already own identifiable portions of your DNA. So what that means is, the article actually says it pretty well. In short, Ancestry.com holds genetic data that reveals your health and other conditions. And this can be very problematic because, we're heading back to a point where potentially insurers may be able to discriminate you upon your pre-existing conditions, and a person's DNA are able to be, your DNA is able to predict if you have, or tell if you have diseases such as cystic fibrosis, sickle cell disease, Huntington's disease, chromosome abnormalities, Down syndrome, Alzheimer's, or if you are vulnerable to breast cancer or Alzheimer's, things like that. All of that is, everything from kidney disease to diabetes to, Alzheimer's, influenza. All of that is able to be inferred from your DNA. So again, mixed with point number 1, where your DNA is forever and ever owned by Ancestry.com. What if Ancestry.com made a deal with insurance companies, with health insurance providers, and without even asking you a question, they were able to take your unique DNA, not even like your DNA, but let's say your cousin did a test and now they know your DNA by extension, and they know that you are, predisposed to certain kinds of cancer or Alzheimer's. Your insurance premiums are going to go up as a result, or even they'll reject you outright for any kind of insurance because of the information that they have over you. Again, you may not even know this information, but it's a very clear cut path to how insurance companies can get that information, because that's what you're giving over. You're giving over complete and all rights to your DNA. So they said that buried in the informed consent section, which is incorporated into the terms of service, they warn customers that it is possible that information about you or a genetic relative could be revealed, such as that you or a relative are carriers of a particular disease. That information could be used by insurers to deny you insurance coverage, by law enforcement agencies to identify your relatives, and in some places, the data could be used by employers to deny employment. Yeah, as the article points out, this is the massive red flag, not just a massive red flag, but the massive red flag, where you or a genetic relative could be used to deny employment, to be identified by authorities, to be denied insurance. All because that one cousin decided, hey, you know what would be fun? And they signed up for it. So, yeah, this is all, again, something that you agree to when you sign up for the service and you hit that I agree, okay button. So, they're saying that an Ancestry.com DNA test is the impetus of a federal civil rights lawsuit filed by Sergeant Cleon Brown, which is a white police officer in Hastings, Michigan, against his employer, saying that curious about his own family history, Sergeant Brown purchased an Ancestry DNA test and analysis report, saying that his DNA was 18% sub-Saharan African, and that Sergeant Brown proudly told his colleagues at the police department about his African ancestry. But not long after, saying that his elation turned to misery, where they started whispering Black Lives Matter while pumping their fist and as they walked past Sergeant Brown. So, discrimination. And it's that lawsuit and many others are undoubtedly going to come up because it's they are not the only ones out there trying to compile DNA services, and if Ancestry.com is willing to do this and willing to give it to the highest bidder, which again, that's kind of the point of collecting data, is that you sell it to the right people, make as much money as you can off of it. Hey, data is valuable. And they're not the only ones, saying that they have a number of different DNA testing software, including by the FBI, who have their own, which is the Combined DNA Index System, which is used for criminal investigations. Combine that with the largest privately held one, and you're going to have the genetic makeup of really almost everyone in this country at some point. Very, very, very strange. So they said that all 50 states and all districts of the United States participate in national sharing of DNA profiles through the coded system. However, the FBI DNA database is not infallible. As they've seen, they've made errors, and errors are possible, but they're going to keep using it. And then the last one is, the last point, not as big of as the other two, but same time, your waiver of legal rights. That's right. So by clicking that, they're saying that the final indignity in the Ancestry.com customers is that they must waive fundamental legal rights by agreeing to mandatory binding arbitration, saying that with the exception of intellectual property rights disputes and certain small claims, Ancestry.com customers must pursue their disputes through arbitration rather than court, saying that in arbitration, the established legal rules of discovery, evidence, and trial by jury do not exist. So by doing all this, and if you have some kind of beef with how they're using it, what happens, any fallout from how Ancestry.com works, you are not allowed to take them to court at all, ever. you have to go to ancestry.com, and you have to essentially argue with them directly and convince them that what they're doing is wrong, which, fat chance of that. So the article concludes that that customers must understand that turning over their DNA means a loss of complete ownership and control. Ancestry.com customers should also know that they're giving up genetic privacy of not only themselves, but their relatives. So we're going to leave that here. I know we already spent, the first half of the show talking about this, but this is really telling of how important and how powerful data can be, and your genetic makeup, your DNA, is probably the most personal information you could ever have about you. I mean, yeah, your browsing history is going to have some embarrassing stuff. Where you live and your phone number, those are, very important to you, but hey, they're going to change a couple times. Your DNA is, cannot be changed. Your DNA is what makes you, you. And by doing an Ancestry.com DNA test, you're giving up a lot of rights. Again, not just for you, but for your relatives. It's it's a very scary territory you enter when you do these kinds of things. And it's not, it's not lessening, not to scare anyone and tell everyone that it's dystopian, but at the same time, you are probably in a database somewhere, because a lot of government services, criminal or otherwise, collect the same kind of information and put it into the same system. There's a lot of power to be had when you can identify someone based simply on, a skin cell, a drop of blood, some kind of DNA, and being able to pinpoint someone and say, this is exactly who it is. That's very powerful information. And you can be sure, hey, they're going to keep it, they're going to keep perfecting it. So, all right, there's that one. We got a little sad there because we all now live in a world that's no longer has privacy. But how about we do this one? This is an article, kind of our namesake for today's show. Alpha, here we go again. Obviously a play on AlphaGo. But AlphaGo, the AI, is about to face off against the world's best Go player. That's right. So, yeah, for anyone out there who may not have been caught up on AlphaGo, Go is a game of strategy, kind of like chess, but at the same time, nothing like chess. And the combinations of moves and abilities are, in the trillions of permutations. It was seen as kind of the last vestige that, computers would not be able to compete with humans, because a computer would never be able to compute the trillions of different combinations of results, and humans, with their ability to use intuition and experience, would be able to beat computers for the longest time, again, simply based on the fact that, well, computers just don't have the computing power necessary to do that. So, at the same time, last year, for those of you, again, not keeping track, Lee Sedol, who was one of the all-time best players of Go, he lost to DeepMind in a 4-1 series. 5 games, and the computer developed by Google, and again using artificial intelligence, beat Lee Sedol 4-1. This was seen as a real shocker. It was like the fact that not only did the computer win, but it won so handedly. It was surprising to really everyone. So here we have it. We have a new challenger, and this is the current #1 best Go player in the world. And, he's a bit of a prodigy. He's 19 years old. He's a Chinese player, and his name is KG. And he came out after AlphaGo's first win, declaring that he believed he could defeat the AI. Where Key toned down his rhetoric as AlphaGo further demonstrated his dominance over the series, but the point remains that AlphaGo hasn't quite beaten the best that humanity has to offer. To put it into perspective, Lee Sedol, he holds a lot of different championships, but at the same time, when he was beaten by AlphaGo, I believe on the worldwide ranking ladder that they have for Go, Lee Sedol was like number 7. So, he handedly beat number 7, but now the question is, can AlphaGo beat what is considered at this moment the number 1 best player in the world? So they're saying that AlphaGo's capabilities will be further tested in 2 exhibition matches, saying that the first pair Go will see 2 Chinese pros face off against each other alongside an AlphaGo teammate. And since Go strategy requires immense foresight and strategy, the helping hand could be more of a hindrance in practice for both human and computer, saying that by removing their abilities to plan ahead. So, much of the drama last year came from AlphaGo's unorthodox, baffling moves that later turned out to be inspired and even beautiful. So, it will be fascinating to see how the AI performs under these conditions. And the second will be more straightforward, where 5 Chinese pro players will basically gang up on AlphaGo, working together in an attempt to take the AI down. And yeah, we'll see. And of course, most of the attention will be on the number 1 Go player against AlphaGo. We'll see what really happens. But yeah, the article goes on for a bit more, but ultimately, of course, the promise of AI is more than just solving board games, if you're wondering why this matters. Saying that this week, you can expect to hear DeepMind speak about its health initiatives, and Google should go into further detail about how machine learning is already improving many of its products. But the summit will also serve as a fascinating focal point for the impact of AI, which is an abstract board game created thousands of years ago in China, is now right at the center of what could be one of the most profound technological developments of our time. So, Go may not be the end game, but it's beguiling and engrossing context for those conversations to be held in. So what he's saying there is that AlphaGo, so this particular application of DeepMind, which is again developed by Google and their artificial intelligence, their end goal is not to beat everyone at board games or at strategy games. That's not their that's not the end result of artificial intelligence. Their end result of artificial intelligence, they just had one that could play poker and was beating some of the best poker players in the world, where a computer that can act on not just every given situation, but is able to act on information that it doesn't have, is able to act on what they called imperfect information, is valuable in automation. So artificial intelligence mixed with automation, this helps things like, diagnosing illnesses where, they may not have everything about the patient, but they have enough to make a proper diagnosis. Very important. Driving, you may not know everything that's going to happen, but you can make safe assumptions and again, make self-driving cars even better. Military applications, I'm sure, business, automation, manufacturing, blah, blah, blah. Anywhere where machines go, this kind of artificial intelligence is going to be crucial in that development. So today, AlphaGo and beating all of the best Go players in the world, and tomorrow you'll have a computer that can, really reason. And that's the scary part. We're talking about robots that can reason, artificial intelligence that can reason and infer and really develop intuition and a second sense. It's when they said it's one of the most important technological developments of our time, it may very well be. And again, it all starts with data and board games. So we'll see what happens. All right. So we're just about out of time before the break here, so we're going to take a break right about now. And yeah, when we come back, we have a couple more stories to go over. And I said a couple. We have a lot more to go over. including Windows 10. That's right, and how it's a privacy nightmare and how you can stop it from collecting all that special data about you. Also, what a bananager is. That's right, a bananager. And yeah, so many more. So we'll be right back with more computer technology news right after this.
We are all Brother Wolf. 10 years ago, a group of locals banded together to create positive change. We took animals into our homes, held adoption events at local retailers, and talked to the community about our mission to help build a no-kill Asheville. A decade later, we have achieved so many victories for animals in need. There's been so much progress, yet there's still so much to do. As part of our year-long celebration, we encourage you to become a member of our special Compassionate Circle program. With a monthly donation of $10 or more, you will have behind-the-scenes access to the work we are doing at Brother Wolf. Our goal is to reach 1,000 members because we receive no government funding. Working together, we can help build and sustain no-kill communities. Learn more at compassionatecircle.bwar.org. We are a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 31 minutes past the hour, and if you're just joining us, welcome into the Computer America Show. And if you didn't hear before, I want to give one more shout out to, again, our most recent sponsor, Fire Dragon Security, who specialize in intrusion detection network systems. And if you are wondering what that is, well, you can of course check them out at firedragonsecurity.net about what they do and what they have to offer. And again, it's something that we've never really seen before, and think it's just, you know, a really, really cool product, and a product that I think can do what no other security service out there really promises to do. So check them out, firedragonsecurity.net. And yeah, tell them hi from Computer America. So now we are moving on with computer and technology news, and we have a lot of news to go over. Let's pick some more fun ones, because you know we've gotten pretty technical in these last couple ones. How about we do this one? Bitcoin. That is a cryptocurrency, and if you don't know what a cryptocurrency is, then please either look it up or check out some of our past episodes on cryptocurrency, because we've definitely done a few stories about it. Well, it made news today that if you bought $100, that's right, $100 worth of Bitcoin 7 years ago, you'd be sitting on $72.9 million right now after a new record high. Now, of course, there are caveats, and of course, that is literally the best case scenario, but at the same time, that kind of growth is staggering when you consider what it is. So here you have this coming from MSN, and that, again, if you bought $100 worth of Bitcoin 7 years ago, you'd now be sitting on $73 million. So Monday marks the 7-year anniversary of Bitcoin Pizza Day, where that was the moment a programmer named Laszlo spent 10,000 Bitcoins on 2 Papa John's pizzas. So more important than the episode being widely recognized as the first transaction using the cryptocurrency is what it tells us about the Bitcoin rally that we saw break the $2,100 mark on Monday. So Bitcoin was trading as high as almost $2,200 in the early hours of Monday morning, hitting a fresh record after powering through the 2,000 barrier over the weekend. And on May 22nd, 2010, again, 7 years ago to the day, a gentleman asked a fellow enthusiast on a Bitcoin forum to accept 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 Papa John's pizzas. And at the time, he believed that the coins he had mined on his computer were worth about 0.3 cents each. That's right, 0.3 cents. So, Bitcoin mining involves solving complex mathematical solutions so that the miner is rewarded a Bitcoin. And essentially, that what they call complex mathematical solutions is essentially verifying what is the blockchain, and making sure that everything is on the up and up, everything is going well. It's decentralized, so all of these little computations that happen all over the world essentially validate its own currency. Decentralized, so no one person can control it. So they said that the cryptocurrency has many doubters as it continues to be associated with criminal activity, but it has still seen a stunning rally. Where here's the two facts, saying that on Bitcoin Pizza Day, however, the highlights are this. So while being worth $30 at the time, they're saying that the pizzas would now cost about $22 million in current Bitcoin prices. $22 million. So 7 years ago, you got them 2 pizzas, and that was about $30. And now, 7 years later, those same 2 pizzas would cost $21.8 million if you use Bitcoin at the same rate. And if you bought $100 worth of Bitcoin at 0.3 cents, they're saying that it would now be roughly about $73 million. Very impressive. So they said that a number of factors have been driving the rally, including Japan that will allow retailers to start accepting Bitcoin as a legal currency has boosted trading in yen, which now accepts over 40% of all Bitcoin trade. So Japan as a country, and Japan, I believe, is like the 3rd largest economy in the world, has validated the Bitcoin, has said that we will trade the yen for Bitcoin. And that's a pretty good deal. Saying that political uncertainty has driven demand for Bitcoin, as people see it as, well, again, the idea that Bitcoin is decentralized, that no one government can say that, oh, we're pulling out of Bitcoin and, blah, blah, blah. Or no one country or government or regime or currency is tied to Bitcoin, so that Bitcoin is a little bit more insulated as a commodity. And the last one is a debate within the Bitcoin community about the future of the underlying technology known as the blockchain, saying that there was fear at one point that this could lead to the creation of 2 separate cryptocurrencies, but those worries have largely subsided with an alternative, more palatable option now being put forward. That's right. So they're saying that the article continues on in another article, and just to be clear, thinking that, oh wow, I should really jump in on this. Just know that $73 million, that would imply that you had someone who was willing to trade $73 million for 10,000 Bitcoin. Not a lot of takers. And the Bitcoin market, while it is certainly surging right now, it is not uncommon for it to lose 30%, 40%, 50% of its entire market value, in a week's time. Incredibly volatile, and definitely has yet to be seen as, a true blue source of commodities and something to invest in. But as they said, they are, they're really looking at Bitcoin as something that is going to be sticking around for a little while, and the futures of it are off the charts. Some say that it could at some point reach the same market value as gold. And, gold is a $10 trillion market across the world, and to think that Bitcoin could reach the same area is certainly astounding. And seems a little far-fetched, but I thought Bitcoin was never going to make it to the point where it is today. And there's also mentioned that besides Bitcoin, there are half a dozen other very popular currencies out there as well. So, Bitcoin, it's not the only game in town, but right now it's certainly a very expensive game in town, topping out at almost $21,800. Wow, $2,185. Very impressive, and very cool. All right, so with that being said, why don't we jump on over to All right, how about this one? This one's a bit, more down to earth, because Facebook, you have to consider, they deal with, well, if you consider them customers, although, no one really pays Facebook for the right to use Facebook, but if you consider them customers, Facebook has to deal with like 1.8 billion people on a monthly basis. It's a lot of people, and a lot of people post a lot of really horrible content. So, there was a leak recently that revealed Facebook's rules for controversial content, saying that the guidelines show a social network struggling to navigate thorny issues. So, here we have it. This coming from Engadget, and John Fingus, saying that it's no secret that Facebook judgment calls on risky content that are sometimes more than a little problematic. But just what are the rules guiding those decisions? And The Guardian has obtained leaked copies of over 100 internal documents outlining Facebook's rulings for handling sensitive content. And it's clear that the social network is struggling to walk a fine line. Is struggling to walk a fine line between freedom of expression and protecting users. So, at least some of it is understandable, but there are areas where its decision making might rub you the wrong way. Saying that, for instance, it's a general rule to allow violent language unless it involves a credible threat to an individual or group. So, just what that means is a bit fuzzy, saying that while threatening political figures is an obvious red flag, a statement like, quote unquote, "I'm going to kill you," and that can be taken, between friends as a gesture kind of way, or between, someone who really has animosity towards someone else. That's a clear threat. But it's considered too generic and obviously would not be taken down. So many people use violent language in facetious or unserious ways, and Facebook says and even a disturbing tone doesn't necessarily mean a statement is violating the guidelines. Very clear. So there are other gray areas. Facebook will sometimes allow videos of violent death and self-harming, so long as they are marked as disturbing and can help raise awareness of issues like mental health. Where it also won't automatically scrub images of non-sexual animal or child abuse, so long as the material is both flagged appropriately and doesn't take pleasure in the act. That's right. So they're saying that in the case of children, the site will sometimes leave material online to help identify and rescue victims, and these are again understandable, but still raises questions about preserving content that crosses the line from informative to insensitive. And Facebook, I can see why they have 100 pages to deal with content like this. So Facebook is upfront about the complexities of the issues it's facing, saying that in a statement to The Guardian, saying that that they explain that people have very different ideas about what is okay to share, and that there will always be some ambiguity. And we reached out ourselves, and they point out that the company both is hiring 3,000 more moderators to help efforts to make it simpler to both report and review posts. In short, Facebook knows it's in a tricky position and is betting that it can do a better job by devoting more resources to the task. So, of course, Facebook is under a lot of pressure with nearly 2 billion users. So many decisions can have far-reaching implications. And for some governments, Facebook's current approach doesn't go far enough. And, this is, I think, the other side of the coin, where it's one thing for Facebook to have a common core set of, what they consider appropriate, what they consider inappropriate, blah, 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 blah. But that, of course, varies on your society and what you grow up in, what you're used to. Obviously, the conventions of, what is proper in American culture is not what is proper in Chinese culture. It's not what is proper in, Arabic culture. It's not what is proper in blah, 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 and so many others. So, Facebook, are they going to moderate based on geolocation? Are they going to moderate based on where you log in from? Are they going to moderate based on where the content is made? It's, when you have 2 billion people, and of course you are at this point dealing with every government on earth. I can't imagine how Facebook can be handling this and handling it that's going to make everyone involved happy. So I don't see that happening anytime soon, but very important to note. All right. So with that being said, how about we do this one? All right. So it's no secret, I like talking about Tesla. I like talking about Elon Musk. He is one of the few people out there that I really feel is taking technology and saying technology can make the world a better place. And he puts into practice as best as he can. He tries to deliver on that every time we hear an update from him. Well, this is no exception. Saying that Elon Musk, he says the new Tesla autopilot is, quote, smooth as silk, end quote. All right, so Katie Collins from CNET and saying an update set to be pushed out next month will make auto steer even safer and more pleasant for drivers. So here we have it, saying that while the rest of the U.S. was sleeping, Elon Musk, saying that Elon Musk spent Sunday night tweeting about the upcoming improvements to Tesla software, and that next month, the electric car company's CEO revealed on Twitter that a software update for Tesla's autopilot software, for the autopilot software will make the algorithm as smooth as silk. I don't know why silk is so pertinent to him, but there we have it. And that the software update will be pushed out to all second generation Teslas, known as HW2, and that these cars currently have fewer features than the first generation cars, but are gradually catching up and having more sensors and more computing power, so promise to be better in the long term. That's right. So, and some of that was Generation 1, it had a lot of things like lane keeping. It had a lot of things like, of course, blind spot detection, cruise control, and, what was essentially seen as kind of a rudimentary autopilot. And the second generation, we saw when they came out, it had much better hardware. It had a lot more sensors. It had better sensors. It had better capabilities to take the data and act upon it. But with the better sensors, they didn't want to give the same implementation as the first one because people would feel, oh, this is a finished product. My car drives itself. I no longer have to pay attention. And that's the last thing that Tesla wanted their drivers to think. So over time, over the past couple of months, over the past couple of years, they have been slowly adding tools into the second generation of Teslas. And his timeline, he said somewhere in 2019, these cars would be fully capable of self-driving. And we're talking about the Tesla 2s that, the Teslas with, as he called it, hardware 2, or the second set of, or the second generation of hardware, and that they would be completely capable of self-driving vehicles. So, in March of this year, the auto steer speed limit was increased to 80 miles an hour, and in May to 90 miles an hour, which left the car feeling safe but unpleasant to drive, according to Musk, saying that the new control algorithm, set to be rolled out next month, is even safer but super smooth. That's right. So, yep, if you bought one and it really looks like Elon Musk is trying to deliver on his promise that if you bought a Tesla with hardware, with the second generation hardware, you are going to eventually get a self-driving car. Just need to make sure you get there in a safe and proper way. All right. So now, why don't we jump into this one? This one is indicative of just how big a company can get and what it can do to the surrounding, really, economy. And Amazon, you may know them. Amazon has hired baristas. So instead of baristas, it's with an N, so it's like banistas, and bananagers, so bananas and bananagers, to give away 1.7 million free bananas. That's right. So, this by Quam Opum and The Verge, saying that Jeff Bezos has taken some business inspiration from George Bluth Sr., Arrested Development, great show, cannot recommend that enough. But they're saying that Amazon has installed 2 banana stands at its Seattle headquarters, and in 2 years, the stands have given away more than 1.7 million free bananas to staffers, which, by the way, has altered the local banana sales in the process. So the journal reports that the Amazon opened the first community banana stand in late 2015 as a public service, saying that bananas were seen as a healthy, fully compostable, and affordable snack for employees and locals. That's right. So there's a lot of benefits to bananas. They come in their own case, they're green, they are nutritious, and hey, who doesn't like a banana? So to support this operation, the stands have so-called banistas, which again, barista and banana, and bananagers, to keep the stock of the slightly radioactive fruit and to keep track of how many are given away. So many bananas have been dispensed on a regular basis that the stands have forced businesses like the nearby vegetarian cafe to rethink how it uses bananas in its food and drinks, saying that when one of the largest tech companies in the world is giving them away for free, selling bananas is a non-starter. Because obviously, right across the street, let's see, you have the free bananas from Amazon, or the one across the street is dicing them up into a salad and you're charging them $3 for a banana. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So they're saying that, and it finishes off with another Arrested Development kind of reference, but at the same time, just little fun fact. Amazon has given away 1.7 million free bananas to locals and employees. My goodness. All right. Very strange. Very strange. Okay. So we have time for one, maybe 2 more stories. How about this one? This is, we'll cover this one and the next one, but one of our major stories today was indeed the fact that the Supreme Court is cracking down on what are known as patent trolls. And the U.S. Supreme Court today handed down an unanimous decision tightening rules from where patent lawsuits can be filed. That's right. Oh, by the way, this is coming from The Street, Mr. Giovanni Bruno, saying that the ruling stands to make it harder for so-called patent trolls to launch patent cases in sympathetic courts, where a significant irritant for tech giants like Alphabet and Apple, saying that the justices sided 8-0. 8-0. That's not even close, but okay. Saying that with TC Heartland, a beverage flavoring firm, in its dispute with Kraft Heinz, and that ruling that the patent infringement suits can be filed only in courts located in the jurisdiction where the target company is incorporated. So, the decision voided a ruling last year by the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit and said that patent suits were allowed anywhere a defendant company products were sold. And you can obviously see where that comes out, because think of a company like Coke, like Coca-Cola. They're sold everywhere. Like, honestly, there's really not a court district that isn't selling a Coke somewhere in it. So for anyone who wants to sue Coca-Cola for patent infringement, and they file some kind of stupid patent like, hey, our cans are round and Coke's cans are round, they're violating our patent. They go to a district where traditionally patents have been upheld, against Coke. They go there, they file, they win, rinse and repeat for as many companies as you can. This is changing it, and, it's really going to cut down on the amount of It's really going to cut down on the amount of sympathetic courts, as they called it, but just, pointless patent trolls. Very, very annoying. And if you were wondering, how much of a crime can this really be? Well, check it out. This coming from this coming from a gadget, Mr. Rob Lefevre, saying that copyright troll lawyer is finally disbarred for fraud, saying that extortion isn't legal either. So real quick, saying that while it is illegal to download copyright files from file sharing sites, it is also against the law to extort downloaders. Saying that a Chicago lawyer who pled guilty to perjury, fraud, and money laundering resulting from alleged honeypot schemes has just been disbarred by an Illinois court. Saying that both Steele and his partner were indicted last March for uploading adult videos that were acquired through sham companies in the West Indies and then suing whomever downloaded them, resulting in $6 million in settlement fees. Wow. And according to the Cook County Record, they said that the law firm would use court subpoenas to find out who had downloaded the content, and some of which they filmed themselves, then allegedly pressured the downloaders for settlement in exchange for dropping the suit. And profiting from such extortions without disclosure is what led to a U.S. District Court to appeal the case. And of course, one is still ongoing, but at the same time, sounds like, again, he made adult videos, he acquired the rights to adult videos, put them up for free on downloading sites and, other torrenting sites, and anyone who downloaded it, he was able to subpoena the records from internet companies or, whatever company they use to download the files from, find the individual and say, hey, you illegally downloaded our content that we put up there. Pay us X amount of money or we're going to sue you for all you're worth. And $6 million later. Seems like a pretty good scheme until you realize that it's pretty illegal. So, yep. Patent trolls, copyright trolls, what have you. All of them seem to be losing in court, and that is what we'd like to see. All right, so I don't think we have time to get to any more, but just for further reading, we had an article here about Windows 10, and by the way, everyone, if you haven't yet, always go through your settings and make sure that anything you don't want on is turned off. And this can include things like sending diagnostic information to Microsoft, and that means that, hey, here's what is happening on this computer, here's what this computer is made out of, here's what this computer is being used for. Essentially your full workdown of your computer. If you don't want that, you have to turn that off. You have to turn off network contacts so it's able to identify other people on your Wi-Fi network. Things like that. Go through your settings, please, and edit them accordingly. You can check that one out. Ford, as you may know them, Ford has replaced their CEO with, this is right, the leader of their self-driving car division. So we obviously see a transition that self-driving cars are a major focus for Ford as a company. And and there's more in there, including how Uber will soon be based on how much Uber thinks you're willing to pay. In that case, everyone, it really does not cost you anything to have Uber.
60
and
seconds.
It doesn't cost you anything to have Lyft and any other ride-sharing services you may have access to. Use them all. See which one's the cheapest. Don't just use Uber blindly. Be a savvy consumer. All right, so all that and more. Again, all this in the show notes of Computer America, computeramerica.com. You can check it out. And thank you so much for joining us here today. Tomorrow on the program, we have on, let me get this right. Tomorrow on the program, we have on a company called Medici. That's right. And this is all about telemedicine and the idea of medicine that comes to you, not the other way around. So tune in tomorrow for that and more here on Computer America. So until then, everyone, have a great day. See you then. Bye-bye.
10 seconds.